Hey everyone, how's it going? Over the past 2 months or so, I had been lulled to sleep, only to find that a four-eyed wizard took over and took my ship from me, my hollow little throne. Well, I found to wake up like it was Doom 2016, and I put this wizardry nonsense to rest where I could just finally be myself again, which honestly I find easier than making a character from drawing and acting like it, so I'm not pretending to be a feeble king or a dragon or another jar of mayo or another glintstone. I am who I am, and I just am who I am, and the name that I have is the one that I am, that I found to have stuck with me till the end of time, and it doesn't go any deeper than that. Anyways, quite recently, I've been undertaking a slow but very gradual and humbling mission into the world of fighting games. I'm pretty terrible at them, and a lot of the times I don't really know what I'm doing, and I still don't to an extent. And by that I mean by 0.1% of knowing what I'm doing, and then 99.9% of not knowing what I'm doing. Anyways, what has latched me onto these sort of games, and the pursuit of playing fighting games, is also the infinite path of improvement and progression that is often found in fighting games. Each title has fundamentals that carry over, and yet they still hold unique mechanics and experiences that make each fighting game different. Like, I could jump from Tekken to Virtua Fighter and get a very different experience in comparison. Same as with Street Fighter and even King of Fighters to an extent. And so with this in mind, I've bought quite a few fighting games as of late, and have even been playing some older classic fighting games to see what I missed out on. Also, I just bought my very first arcade stick, the 8-bit Do arcade stick. Now, you might be wondering why I would do this, and if you think that I think it's going to automatically make me better at fighting games, well, you're wrong. I have no illusions with arcade sticks. I know that it doesn't work like a magic trick where you just pick it up and then all of a sudden you're a god at fighting games. If that was the case, then more people would be holding Evo titles after picking up an arcade stick for the first time, but that's besides the point. I bought one because I wanted a pseudo arcade-like experience while using a lever and with some buttons just like you would at the arcades. Plus, it's also a different type of device that I'm not used to, whereas with any controller or mouse and keyboard, I can pick them up on the spot after a few minutes of adjustment. Nevertheless, I've been enjoying a mix of arcade titles ranging from beat-em-ups to shmups and fighting games. Hell, even some platformers have gotten some lever action, and I want to use the stick as much as I can. And also, did you know that you can also play Dead Cells with an arcade stick? In fact, there are a good number of indie titles and even action roguelikes that you can play with arcade sticks, and Hollow Knight, for example, has room for some old school arcade stick finger bleeding action that actually makes for an interesting experience, I might add. And so with my infinite wisdom, I decided to push myself a little bit more and see how far I could go playing more interesting titles. So by this title, you might be worried about what we're going to be getting into, and well, you should be. But don't worry, this is only the start of what is to come in the future. The scratch of the surface when it comes to something that is so bad it's so good. And here are some so bad it's so good fighting games for you to immerse yourself in. And so let's start off very light with Brief Karate Foolish.
蘇るがいいブリーフファイター本当はあるにゃ猫耳国籍不明住所不明年齢不明職業超永久暗殺者すべての
I have not once heard of this game during my travels, and now I will never be able to unlearn it again. I was told about it by someone whose brain I picked about fighting games, and how I wanted to delve more into them holistically. Yes, I use that word, and now I am in a world of Japanese men who all wear briefs, because it has become the source of the uncanny energy that these people exhibit in this game. And when I first saw Brief Karate Foolish, I thought to myself, this must be what Japan looks like. I thought Sekiro did it so well with its love and appreciation for Japanese mythology, where the game felt more at home for the creators than the other FromSoft games, but I was so wrong. No, Brief Karate Foolish had it right from the very start, and it did it with far less storage space than Sekiro did. Brief Karate Foolish is Japan, and Japan is Brief Karate Foolish. I just didn't realize it until I finally played it. So if you took something like Street Fighter 2 or perhaps even King of Fighters to an extent, and replace all of the characters with brief wearing Japanese dudes, you will get brief and memorable experiences where you can play as a character who studied so much he practically lost his mind, and now he attacks with all of his study notes. Or Nekomimi, the greatest character this game has ever given us, and possibly the greatest character of all time. He is truly a real human being. No, I take that back. He is a feisty and nightmarish cat who will destroy your innards and leave you hanging like a From Software hot take post. Each of the 9 characters have their own unique quirks and fighting style, and the controls worked really well on the stick even, and their command inputs aren't too complex. They have a meter system that you can use for recoveries or special attacks that can devastate opponents when they land successfully, but the game is quite hard. It starts off easy at first, but as you progress, the opponents are more aggressive. They will punish you with anti-air, use throws more often, use supers, and juggle if given the opportunity. You're dealing with a pretty short but charming game that is so out of whack that it would be stupid to take it seriously. This is one of those fighting games that you're not necessarily going to be making a Evo career out of, but something that you would play casually or when you have a friend over and want to do a 1v1 shenanigan session. And no, I haven't beaten the game yet, but I absolutely will get there in time. And I will become the brief champion that I was destined to be. And for this to happen, and for the sake of health and fitness, I will be training with briefs moving forward. So imagine Rocky 4, but with briefs. That will be the key to my success here. But other than that, go play Brief Karate Foolish. It's completely free and you have zero excuses to not play it, because if you don't, then we most certainly will not get Bloodborne 2. Speaking of number 2, we have Dong Dong Never Die.
Guys, come on. Ha. Ha. Hey guys, come on. Ha. Ha. 冷月推人，玉击鼓。哈。KO。哎呀。
And it's another fighting game inspired by Street Fighter and King of Fighters, but with, again, a less serious tone surrounding it, with a bigger and more dynamic roster of random people that got together in a group and wanted to be part of a fighting game. You know, the kind of people that all knew each other, and it's like, hey, why don't we make the most batshit insane fighting game that we could possibly make together? And this is the result. Projects like this are cool because you can tell that the people involved were genuinely sold on the idea, and it's reflected in all of the batshit insane movesets and unique mechanics that each character has. It's a game with a loose similarity to Terminator 2's story, even with one character in mind. And also, it's a game with 2 nurses that can fight and do combos together, or a guy who can literally spam bullets at people by doing a parry this you filthy casual playstyle in the literal sense. And yes, Mario is in this game for some reason, and there's also a random anime girl that I don't know anything about, because that's exactly what the game needed to reach the peak of the summit in fighting games, while adding more to the curse factor. While the Briefs took over Japan, Dong Dong Never Die took over the rest of the world. Peons from across the modern industry are wasting their time complaining and molding over Tekken 8, Season 2, and Street Fighter 6, when they could have just been playing this game instead. Unfortunately, though, I will concede on the fact that I had some issues with the arcade stick inputs, and as much as I wanted to use the stick here, I ultimately had to compromise on a controller because I don't really want to play fighting games on a keyboard. I just tried it before and it's just not for me, so controller it was. On one hand, when you've played enough of Street Fighter or KOF or other similar games, you kind of already have some fundamental experience that can somewhat carry over, and yet this game does enough on its own to stand out for itself. Not just for the aesthetics, mind you, but also how it plays with each character and how they all dynamically change the flow of the fight, who also have unique fighting styles and movesets going for them that go from, hey, that's cool, to what the f was that in seconds. Seriously, people are missing on this shit. I haven't played much of it and it's already a certified hood classic in my library of fighting games. Dong Dong Never Die, like Brief Karate Foolish, is an example of how fan games or games made with passion can exhibit more passion and dedication than what you see in other games being made today. It was made with undoubtedly a lot of laughter and shenanigans, and it really shows in how the game displays itself. It's fun to play even if I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the times, and that's a very important thing for me still, to be able to gauge in the fun zone even if I'm playing terribly or have absolutely no idea how to play it. And Dong Dong Never Die is a great example of how anyone with whatever skill level they have can still enjoy it, even if they're still learning. It's also free, so again, no excuses here whatsoever. But as for the next one, finding it will require a Google search, and it's a title from the year 2000, the same year as the release of the PS2, my favorite console of all time by the way, and that game is BCV Battle Construction Vehicles.
Ah! Look here! Who do you think I am? Hayato Congo.
Can't beat me, youngster. Age will always prevail. Kazukio Danore.
Kyoko Tachibana.
Oh, yeah! Crush you! Ha ha ha! Adashi Raita!
Ah! We're hard at work again today. Out of the way. Move! Move or I'm smashing through. Okay, everyone here? Then let's get to work.
Okay!
It's a 3D fighting game about people in construction vehicles duking it out in construction work sites. Brief Karate Foolish and Dong Dong I understood, but this is something else. I thought I couldn't sink any lower into the abyss, that I couldn't get any more cursed in my journey here, but I was proven wrong immediately with a PS2 first year title, and the worst part is, it's not even the most cursed PS2 fighting game that you can find out there, but one of many that I have yet to come across. So the story revolves around a reluctant son of a construction boss, the father who has now inherited the company from his dad and has to rebuild the business by fighting other construction vehicles and also taking big jobs and hiring others. I am dead f***ing serious. And now, because of this experience, I can no longer unsee this game. So when I drive out in the world and see construction sites, I imagine that this is what they all do. Because what are these construction workers supposed to do with their lives? I mean, isn't this what construction work really is all about when you boil it down? Like when I see a shooting star in the sky, it's not the sight of the cosmos, but just another construction vehicle fallen victim to a home run. You have a story and a versus mode, and I was already checked out on this game once its novelty wore off. It's a fun and wacky idea for a early PS2 title, but man is it not that fun to play. And even though I said it was fun, it's the idea that's fun and not so much the gameplay itself. I spent a lot of the time not having any idea what I was doing, and the game didn't really go out of its way to teach me even basic controls for a good first impression. I just had to painfully learn the dog shit movement with a camera that changes depending on the position of the vehicles. Early 6th gen games are on and off with their camera execution, let alone controls, and I could say that BCV Battle Construction Vehicle is truly one of the games of all time. But to give it some credit, it did further cement my love and appreciation for 6th gen gaming, because for me, it represented an exciting prospect for the future of gaming, where I felt that each year had more and more daring titles that pushed the envelope in one way or another. Whether it was the wackiest game or the most polished game, they all just felt like a game, and I didn't feel that they were trying to ascend their status as a game and try to be something like art or some other higher ascertained piece of media, like a lot of games try to do nowadays. For me, these were the best type of games that were just simply that, games. And the fact that I could still play them is a godsend in my life, because there are a number of modern AAA titles that I just don't care for at all, regardless of their quality. Nevertheless, BCV Battle Construction Vehicle is a fun, wacky, but janky game that I wish had a better way of communicating its controls. And now they've said that I've been scratching the surface for cursed fighting games, as I said earlier, you would be right, because I only really have scratched the surface, and there is so much of it to uncover, because we're about to delve into one more that's smaller, but even more cursed than this game, and this game is Normal Human Face Simulator. Normal Human Face Simulator is a very simple and straight to the point idea. You have two people and the goal is to bite the opponent's face off completely until there's nothing left. It's designed so that two people can play on the same control system, which means you can also verse yourself if you don't have any friends or siblings. When you land a bite, you mash the other key until the pound of Unreal Engine 5 looking flesh is severed from the other person, and they can do the exact same thing to you as well. There's really not that much going on here gameplay wise, but I really liked how well the physics are implemented with each bite. It's described to having a low poly procedural graphics approach to the visuals. Well, anything to enhance the primal activity of flesh tearing, am I right? It's easy to play and even better with another person, and when I was playing Normal Human Face Simulator, I was reminded of other fighting games or just other games that had a simple 1 or 2 button approach. For example, One Finger Death Punch and Dive Kick are great examples of games with very simple control schemes while still having their own skill ceiling and loading curves along the way. And sometimes a simpler control scheme is all you need to realize an idea for a game. And for a game like Normal Human Face Simulator, 2 buttons is perfect since it's also affected by the game's physics where you can bite different parts of the face each time. In saying that though, it is more of a concept than a full-on game because you don't really get that much more beyond what you already see. However, it would be interesting to see just how much further this idea could go. Plus, physics-based fighting games can be a lot of fun while still being dynamic each time you experience it. Just look at the game Half Sword and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, even though these games are cursed and some of them are quite terrible, they also represent for me a statement on gaming that I feel is sometimes missed from bigger studios whenever they make a new game nowadays. Playing more arcade games and fighting games and other straight-to-the-point titles has made me appreciate straight-to-the-point titles even more, where I can just put them down at any time and also have equal opportunities to get better at them through frequent exploration and dissection of the game with its mechanics. And these games here still have that potential, and even the worst ones that I've played have that potential. The sphere of cursed or so bad it's good fighting games go deeper than what I've demonstrated. Ultra Fight da Kyante 2, or if that's how you pronounce it, is a free game that I've played a little bit of, but don't know much about, honestly. The fights are pretty quick and you can customize your setups, ranging from 1 to 3 characters, as well as determining what stamina and X type you want to go for. Beyond that though, it's a game that I've only just scratched the surface of, but it's free as well, and it's worth trying out if you're interested. Do I have any idea what I'm doing in the game though? Of course not, but like any game that I like or like the idea of going in further with, I eventually push myself just enough to learn a little bit more, and like I said, it's free, so it's harmless to try it out. And as for Mugen games, well, it's an ancient, bizarre, and infinitely creative system with its platform where people can make their own fighting games with it. However, it's also a mixed bag, and that just comes from the result of what kind of person or what kind of team creates with the Mugen platform. And there are some genuinely good Mugen games that you can find. They are definitely out there. Some examples like Hyper Dragon Ball Z, Capcom vs SNK, and Mortal Kombat A New Era These sort of Mugen games come to mind where they're quite polished and are somewhat balanced in comparison to some other ones. But sometimes you find other Mugen games that have a lot of imbalance where the characters are just dumped in there without any changes to the data, where setting up AI versus AI matches is more fun than actually playing it due to how unfair and unfun it feels when you play it in person. And apparently people are actually into that sort of thing with the AI versus AI matchups, and some even bet money on it. And I'll admit that it is actually pretty entertaining at times to watch and gives me an excuse to do awful matchups without making me tear my head off. Either way though, Mugen can be a polished experience, but also a equally cursed and just downright awful one too, depending on what you're playing in the lineup of Mugen games, or Ikemen, which is the successor to Mugen. Anyways, this bizarre journey has been interesting so far, and I'm definitely keen to check out more games like this in the future. But I'm also even more excited to try out some of the high quality fighting games that I have possession of, and I look forward to using more of my new fight stick for other games too. So yeah, check these games out if you don't care at all for your self-preservation and have the time of your life. Thanks for watching.